Hi, I'm Bill Lyon, and today we're going to start making a set of coasters, actually many sets of coasters. These are made out of walnut, and there'll be 8 in a set, even though there's 9 in this stack. We're going to turn this rough sawn walnut, we'll mill it down to 1/2 inch thickness. Actually, we'll split it in half and get 2 pieces 1/2 inch thick, and from there we'll make blanks for the coasters themselves, as well as blanks for the bases. So that will be the first step. Take a couple hours to get all the stock milled down to manageable sizes for the equipment I have in my shop. Cut. Okay, I've milled all the material down to 1/2 inch thickness. It's about 4 7/8 inches wide, and I've cut 4 7/8 inch square blanks. So I've already cut the blanks. I have a stack of blanks here. I have 85 blanks. The next step is you have to drill a hole in the center of the blank. So I've set the drill press up over here to be able to find the center, and I'll drill a hole 1/8 inch diameter hole, about 3/16 of an inch deep, and from there I will go to the bandsaw, which is over here, and I'll cut this into a circle. So the jig is set up. I have a pin here, 1/8 inch diameter. I will fix the blank on the pin, which is a little challenging to find the center hole. Let me get it in place here. Okay, now I'm able to spin the blank. So I'll turn the bandsaw on. Then move the blank into it. So now I have a blank that's the correct diameter for the next step in the operation to turn these into coasters. Cut. Okay, we're ready for the next operation. I've got all the blanks cut on the bandsaw, and they come off the bandsaw with a pretty rough edge. So I've got a jig here set up for the table saw and a sanding disc on the instead of a blade. So I will turn this on and demonstrate what we do. That does a real good job on cleaning up the edge and gets us ready for the next operation, which will be cutting the recess for the cork coaster inserts. Cut. Okay, the next step in the process of making these coasters is to route out a recess in each of these blanks, which is like this, such that you can put the coaster, the cork, into the recess that you route, and it sits flush to the top of the coaster, and they'll be glued in at the end of the process. So we take a blank with a hole in it we use for cutting the circle. That goes down into the jig like so, and we lock it in place with this handle. and then we flip it over, and I will have to clamp it down, so I can't do that on camera, but I'll show you what we do. So it's locked in place, and now we will route it out with this router. Okay, now I have locked it up blank into the fixture here, the jig. I clamp the jig to the table such that we can, so it won't move as I'm routing it out. Now we take the router, set the depth so it's just above the surface, get it positioned, and then turn it on. I've successfully routed the recess so that the cork can fit into it. And now we have to repeat this process to do all these coasters. Okay, the next step in making these coasters is to route over the edge of each coaster, or round over on that, so it's nice and smooth to the touch. To do that, I will use a router table, and watch as I demonstrate. I'll turn on the vacuum and put on my ears, and then I'll route over a couple of these and see how we do. Now we've completed that operation, so we have a nice smooth edge, a nice edge. It's a little rough from the routing, but then the next step we will put them on the lathe and sand these edges and get everything ready for finishing. 160 to do. Okay, about 6 months has passed since my last episode, and I'm to the point where I need to sand the edges of the coasters. So I do that on the lathe. I made a jig, and I'm able to mount the coaster in the jig. And with that and some sandpaper, I just turn it on and then hit the edge, the inside and the outside. Turn it off, flip it around, and do the other side. By doing that, it smooths up the routed edge and makes it smooth as silk. So I'll do that for all 160 plus coasters, and then I'll move on to sanding both faces, the bottom and the top. Okay, now I've finished the edge sanding and I'm ready to sand the top and the bottom. So I made a jig here on the table. I can put it in here to lock it in place so it won't spin. And then I'll sand. flip it over and get the other side. So I'll do that to all the coasters, and then we'll be ready for finish. So stay tuned. Okay, now that I've finished the sanding of all the coasters, I have to now prepare them for finishing. And to do that, I need to put a riser on the block so I can set them down and let them dry evenly. So I need to cut some double stick tape here. I'll do that. And put a piece in the middle of the coaster. And you got to peel off the top part. And I'll take one of these risers. It's just a block of plywood I've cut. Press it down, and now I got it so I can hold on to it, set it down, and that way it can dry on both sides at the same time. So we've got to do it to all the coasters. Well, it's the next day, and as you can see, I have put the boiled linseed oil on all of the coasters. This is about half of the coasters. They'll have to dry overnight, and then tomorrow or the next day I will put on a coat of shellac, and once that dries, a light sanding, and then first of 2 or 3 coats of top coat, depending upon how they look. Okay, now we are on to finishing. So I've got to start here. This is the second coat, so I have to grab each one individually, do the what is the top edge, get a coat of finish on that. I'm wiping it on with a clean rag. Then I get the edge, get a little more finish on it, and get the bottom covered with finish, wiping it on evenly. Then I hit the edge again and the top, which is underneath. And I carefully set it down. Use this to position it in place so it can dry. And voila, second coat of finish. So all this to do, 170 or so coasters, and this is about half of them. Okay, now we're to the point where we need to burn the coasters, the cork coasters, to put on the class crust and the names. So I've got the laser set up, got the file writer on. We'll turn on the air, put a position, a coaster in place, and then we will fire this baby up. Each coaster takes about 7 minutes to run. So I'm not going to do the whole 7 minutes. I'm going to stop it here and then I'll pick it up at the end. Okay, that concludes burning of the coaster. So that's what they look like, and I've personalized them for each of you. Okay, one of the next steps is to make the dowel rods about 4.5 inches long that will fit into the base and will hold the finished coasters. So I made a jig to cut this little square dowel into a round dowel. So let's get this hooked up in my my cordless drill, and we'll tighten it in there, and we will run it through and make a dowel. So there we have a 3/8 inch diameter dowel. Now I just need to cut this into the pieces and get them rounded over on top so they will fit into the base. So I've got a bunch of these to make, 21 bases times 4 each. You can do the math. Okay, I have all the dowels cut to the length, and I got the base. I want to make sure the dowel fits into the base, which in this case it does. Now I need to round over the end, and I'm going to do that in a old-fashioned way, pencil sharpener. So I got a pencil sharpener here, and I'm just going to take a little bit off. And I will form a little chamfer on the end, and from there need to give us some sandpaper. So here's some 60 grit paper. Just want to get that smooth and even. 60 grit, we'll do 120 grit. And then we'll do a 220 grit. The 220 grit I'm doing on the whole length of the dowel. And I got to do the other end as well, so remount it in the driver. Now I have a finished dowel that is ready to be oiled up, and then put a couple coats of top coat on it. Then they'll be glued into the bases. Okay, now we're down to the final coat of finish on the bases. So let me just get this ready to go here. It goes pretty quick. Around the edge. And then get the surface here real quick. Thin coat of finish. And then we set it down to dry. Fortunately, there's only 21 of these, so this will go a lot quicker. And that's all there is to finish. Okay, now that I have all the bases with the finish on them, I have to drill the holes in the base in order to put in the pins. So first thing I gotta do is line this up perfectly. And I'll clamp it down with a 3/8 inch drill bit. I'll make a little dimple. Tells me where to drill the holes. Once I do that, then it's off to the drill press. So at the drill press, I just line up the spur on the bit to that hole that I made, and then I drill the hole. I set a depth stop so it will only go 3/8 of an inch deep. Clean that out. Line up that spur again. And I have to do this for each base. Okay, now we're at the final stage of these coasters, and I'm putting in the contact cement, and I'll do it on both the cork and the coaster. And then once it's all done and dried, then we will put them together, and once you bond them, put them together, they're bonded permanently. So it's the same kind of adhesive that they use for countertops. So guaranteed not to come apart unless you tear it apart. You gotta do a coat on each one of them. Then I'll do the corks in a bit. I'll show you that too. Okay, the final step in this is to put the glue on the bottom of the coaster. So just like I was doing for the coasters themselves, just have to get the glue spread out evenly. No drips, no runs, no errors. And trying to keep the glue on the coaster and off the base because you don't want to mess. And then once that's set it there and continue on. So we'll do 2 here. And just continue till I got them all done. Well, I've completed all the coasters. Here they are all laid out, ready to be boxed up and transported to Annapolis for the giveaway at our 50th reunion. So hope you enjoyed the video, and it was a lot of work. Interesting trying to make a video all by yourself, but I think it turned out okay. So shows what I went through to put all this together, pull this together, and make all these things. I think they turned out great. Thank you.